other person except for state or federal grants or loans. Moved by Mr. Corzine. Second by Mr. Bobby. Call roll, please.
Corzine.
Yay.
Barfield.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Daughtery.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight.
Yes.
And myself.
Yes. Next item, item C. Motion to accept that the city of Metropolis authorizes construction of this project with only local funds.
I got one final question, Mr. Ray. On redoing this line where the property owner has been responsible to the name, and here we're going to be responsible from day one, property to the name.
No, we're tying into a manhole that is on city property. It is city's manhole on city property that we're tying
You're
into.
running from the city manhole.
From the manhole, that is
Not from
correct.
Baymont.
Not from Baymont, no sir.
That's okay.
It's from the manhole.
That's okay.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Davis.
So Richard made the motion.
I'll give it to him and I'll second it. Make it easy. It don't matter how you do it. Just give it to one of us.
Which one are you going to give?
Well, I did because I did all.
It don't matter as long as it gets done.
Call roll, please.
Corzine.
Yay.
Barfield.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Daughtery.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Midnight.
Yes.
Myself.
Yes. Those all ended up in the, might apologize to Mr. Barfield, those ended up in the mayor's report. Maybe she didn't, Mr. Neal just felt like I needed more to do tonight.
You did an excellent job there.
You taught him well, Mr. Barker. Thank you.
It's coming at the time of year now that we're actually need to talk about a finance committee. Through the urgency of the situation through the ordinance committee and things like that, we'd actually planned on having a finance committee on Tuesday of next week. But I do think that right now, probably the urgency of the ordinance needs to be put in front of finance. Would it be acceptable? I did talk with Tricia this afternoon briefly. Today's Monday. Would it be possible to have a short finance meeting, just finance, no Waterline Street, just finance meeting to start on the first items of the budget? We do have everything on paper, just like we did last year, to start the first phase of going over and dissecting and talking about line items on the budget. On Thursday or Friday in the afternoon. Is the finance committee, could we get a quorum?
I can be here.
Thursday or Friday. We have plenty from today. We have enough time to Thursday at 1 o'clock.
Thursday.
This is Thursday.
This Thursday.
Let's get that out tomorrow.
Yeah. That won't be a problem.
Yeah, short and sweet.
We'll have nothing on it except the finance to get through the finance. And I know each and every one of you can't make it, but feel free to call and find out. Each one of you will have a worksheet made out. I'll try to get Tricia to fill out, for the ones that's absent, to fill out what's been inserted, where you can actually look before any final decisions are made. But more so of Tricia than certainly myself. Tricia is the chief financial officer and takes a lot of time, and I couldn't imagine to tell you how much time she spent from Friday to Sunday. I know at 10 o'clock Saturday night she was still here. She worked all day Sunday. This morning she was in, I would say she had her dancing shoes on. She was tickled to death. She was enthused. She had completed a great task, and we actually put together some stuff today between Tricia and myself. As always, we try to have someone that's not personally involved in all of it to proofread it. We're always a little bit leery to give it to Rick. You can take a paragraph, and by the time he gets through marking up the margins, you've got 3 pages. But it is something, and I would like to read into the record just from the mayor and the chief financial officer to the council of some things that's been accomplished that you all did in the last year that I think everyone should have pride in on the accomplishment is what happened. There's some things that will be read here that we should, it's a way of life, that things happen. Decisions, there's always a upside of every decision. Many times there's a downside of every decision. But many, many man-hours were gone into the preparation not only of this year's budget, but last year. You remember how many hours were actually spent. Some very, very, very hard decisions were made that each and every one of us made decisions that no one really liked. Necessary maybe, but each one here sitting at in this council chambers actually made some extreme sacrifices of things that were near and dear to their hearts. So give me a little bit of time to actually read this. For the first time in several years, it appears that our budget process is going to be virtually painless. Last year, we spent numerous hours trying to chip away at a deficit that we finally worked down to $1.8 billion. After passing that budget, we went to work to make that deficit go away by accomplishing and implementing the following changes. Anticipated savings in health insurance by going from a fully insured plan to self-insured, $400,000. Increase in telecommunication tax, $160,000. Decrease in fire department overtime together with the retirement of one full-time firefighter, $110,000. Decrease in liability, claims, and outside counsel, $200,000. Elimination of after-school program, $37,000. Elimination of scholarship program, $100,000. Decrease in amount of mandated funding for the police and fire pensions, $100,000. Retirement of 5 city employees and dismissal of 2, $505,000. Cost saving realized by the wastewater treatment plant contractor, $85,000. Decrease in economic development consultants, $45,000. Reduction in workmen's compensation premiums, $45,000. Reduction in property casualty insurance cost, $13,000. We have achieved our objective, and next week at the finance meeting, I have to change that now, it's going to be this week. I will present a budget that is close to balance as you can get. This balanced budget will come in with no additional cost to the citizens, take away the fear and uncertainty of employee layoffs, and allow our reserves to remain intact. We have played the hand the economy has dealt, and we've worked really hard to overcome the adverse effects of our decreased revenue. 2 years ago, we felt the devastation of our decreased gaming revenue that forced us to dip in our reserves $1.3 million. Because we went to work to reduce that deficit last year, we only spent $170,000 of our reserve. That's quite a difference. While we are proud to accomplish financial stability, we are sad to see some of the assistance that we have given to others go away. For example, a balanced budget for the city means that there is no payments to the county, no assistance to gardening in-house or rebuilding together, no Christmas certificates to the citizens, and the end of the after. When I read that, it's a lot of these words are coming from Tricia because of the fact that she, along with each department head, spends many, many, many hours, and it's not Tricia's job to dictate to the city council or this chamber of how that money should be spent. Her job as financial officer is to put together a budget and include what each and every department head has put in there. Then it's the council and the mayor's, more of the council than the mayor, to go through that, add, subtract, completely throw out what is done. And I want to commend, the work and the effort, not only of the city council, but our city employees. I mean, they've done down deep. They've not mumbled, they've not grumbled about cutting the overtime out. One reason I actually felt like we needed to do this tonight is, as we start the process of this financial budget for the next fiscal year, there's many, many people out there that work for us and are loyal employees and have been loyal employees of the city of Metropolis for many years. And they have been kind of living in limbo. Mr. Adkins can speak to that. I mean, I don't believe the average everyday citizen worker can pretty well take about anything that's dealt to you, as long as you know what the cards lay. You can accept you either got a job or you don't have a job. But one of the worst things, I think, for any employee is to have it hanging over their head for months or a full year or whatever. Am I going to have a job this time next year? What am my family going to do and stuff like that? And that's created all through our county right now. I mean, hard times are here, but with the dedication of the hard decisions that's been made, we're $1.8 million in better shape this year than we were last year. And through the decisions that's going to be made in the next several weeks, it's the first time probably in the last, Mr. Carroll's a senior alderman here, it's probably the first time in the last 15 years or maybe longer than that the city of Metropolis is facing a balanced budget. And I believe everybody that's participates in what goes on here should be commended. I'm proud to be able to work with each and every one of you. Some days not so much. But for most, we have a good time. We make the hard decisions, and we're going to have to make some more hard decisions and stay on course. But and I am glad to see Wilburn here tonight. I'm sure he's going to be able to go to the men. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to have some more hard times. That doesn't mean that. But if we can stay on course, we're actually going to protect every job we've got right now. We'll have to stay on course and make some of that hard decisions that we made last year. And most people, I mean, they're going to fuss at us. They're going to gripe at us a little bit about this and that and something else. But deep down, each and every citizen, I believe, wants you to make those hard decisions of what's better for the whole community. So, in saying that, that's my little spill for tonight. And
Mayor, while we're putting out commendations, I was saving this for miscellaneous, but I'm going to do it now because you've done an excellent job on what you said with Tricia and Sheila. Put in all those hours, and we got to remember she has to keep her schooling. She attended one full day of school to do that. But what I'd like to do is commend our city employees, all departments, electric, cement, all of them. And then we have one temporary employee, I believe the name of Matt Kepner. Yes. He overseen the layout of the pump building, and he did an excellent job, as well as all the men. But during this 105 to 109 degree weather, our men said, let's forego our break, let's work through our break, even let's work through our lunch period and get this far of this job done. And they did it. Now, that is showing that they've got the best interest of the city and their job at heart, and I want to commend all of them for it.
Mr. Carroll, that was well said, and I know we have a lot of good employees and stuff like that, but I can tell you for a fact that at the soccer field, with the generosity of the city council to move forward on that cycle, they poured 765 feet of concrete in not one day was it under 103 degrees, and they worked diligently, and that was actually before we changed the time, and they were coming in at 7 o'clock in the morning, and that was approximately 68 or 69 yards of concrete. They poured, finished themselves and stuff like that, and done a great job. So, we have.
And they did the landscape. And we give them credit for that too.
They did a good job, excellent job, all of our meetings.
Does anybody else want to speak to anything pertaining to that? If not, we'll move on with the corporate council.
Thank you, Matt. Have one thing, we have a resolution, it's in your packets. At the last the last city council meeting, we authorized selling approximately 3.86 acre, 855 acre tract of land on Demus Road for essentially a commercial for $60,000. We got an appraisal. By law, the sale price has to be at least 80% of the appraised amount. The appraisal came in at $70,000, so we're safe with 60. I mean, that's 85, almost 86%. We got a written proposal. I attached to the resolution the original proposal, but I've got a written signed proposal, and this is what we would use not only for the resolution but also for the TIF redevelopment agreement. Which, as these people go forward and close on this, there'll be a TIF redevelopment agreement done. And this pretty much mirrors what's on your resolution. This is a signed letter from Dana Leggett specifying that they intend to build an assisted living facility at this location. It lists the things that they need from the city, which we had in our previous, same as what's on your list from that's on your resolution. But it lists those things that they need from the city. Indicates that they will pay what they'll pay for. They do expect to invest about $3.5 million, and this project, when it's completed, will be a 40-unit assisted living that can be expanded to 70. They've already contacted Engineering Inc. to do their site plan. I got a letter of commitment from their bank saying that they've agreed to loan them the money for this facility. I got that last week, signed by Paducah Bank, and that as soon as they get their appraisal and proof of interest, they'll be closing on their loan. They were actually lining up construction money today, some short-term construction money that'll roll into their loan, so they can actually go ahead, if we approve this tonight, pay us the money and start doing some dirt work out there. We went ahead and lined up getting them a couple pipe culverts, and we'll also be having Joe and Brian and our water folks talk about how we're going to take water to the property lines, sewer to the property lines, that sort of stuff. This is pretty. Yeah, we'll have to run a permit through for the water line. And they listed in here the types of jobs that they would create during the first year when this is over. They expect about a 9-month to maybe 12-month, depending upon weather, construction period, but they're hoping to start this month.
And it's this, and it's presented, what's the percentage? 66%?
You need 2/3 vote, yes. Of the corporate authorities, there's 9 of you because the mayor votes on this, so it needs 6 votes. And I have a copy. If anybody has a copy of the survey,
Yeah, I'll make this as a motion.
Second by Mr. Midnight. Second by Mr. Barfield. Discussion? All right.
Corzine.
Yay.
Barfield.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Daughtery.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight.
yes.
Myself.
Yes.
Mayor?
You're mayor.
Yes. Come on, I don't get to vote very often. Leave me alone.
That's all I have. No, not me. Everything else is under this ordinance.
Next committee report, ordinance committee.
Thank you, Mayor.
David.
This come out of the 7/31/12 ordinance committee meeting. Adopted ordinance amending Title 11 Business Regulations, Chapter 111, Amusements, Section 111.40 game.
There's a motion. I'll second that motion.
What's the number on that, Jane?
No.
Motion made and second. Call the roll, please.
Corzine.
Yay.
Barfield.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Daughtry.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Midnight.
Yes.
Mydell.
No.
Thank you.
Second and last, I make a motion to adopt an ordinance amending rules and regulations pertaining to towing services.
Second that motion.
I got a question. Are we gonna go back into this and set more stuff later on?
On the towing?
Yeah.
I thought you would. I thought, yeah, I think the indication the other day in the committee was, yes, let's bring it back if you guys want to talk about the fee regulation or something like that.
Why don't we just wait and let Massey go ahead and have the old ordinance and then get it all at one time?
You could ask him, but this was something he specifically
He's
asked.
kind of said he needed this now while we argued the other one.
As much as I disagree with doing it this way, and that's what they discussed the other day in the ordinance committee, that they would go ahead and do this, and then they promised they would come back and look at that.
That's right.
I'll take that, you know.
That's what we said.
So that's gonna be 2012-10, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we do have a motion, we do have a second. Call the roll, please.
Corzine.
Yes.
Barfield.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Daughtry.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Midnight.
Yes.
And Mydell.
No.
Thank you.
That's all that was on the ordinance meeting 7/31/12.
Department heads. Chief, Massey,
Nothing, Your Honor.
Forrest,
Nothing this time.
Keith,
Sir.
Frank,
I'm sorry.
Christie.
Well, while we're passing out kudos, I've got about 3 of them. Mr. Massey done a U-turn the other day in front of me and went after a speeder in that new unmarked car. It worked perfectly, and he didn't even know he done it, but man, he turned that thing around on a dime and was down that road in no time. So I want to commend him for, not being too good to pull over a speeder.
I thought you was going to want to arrest him for making a U-turn.
No, good thing my wife was driving, said me, I might have got upset. The other morning we had a truck on fire on the interstate, and the police had just barely got on scene, and here come Mr. Morris just minutes behind him. I mean, he must have been sleeping in his fire gear or something, but he was there, just at a drop of a hat, and, whenever you got something on fire, to know that they were going to respond that quick, I just thought that was a good job. And Keith, I gave Frank attaboy the other day about the bid proposals. I really like that. I thank you for doing it that way. That makes it a lot easier on us to do a good job. So thank you. That's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Old business. New business. Only thing I got, you can send it back to his, because I figured it's gonna go there anyway. I just put on our PPA, discuss and talk about that. I think we need to make maybe some changes, cut some people some slack out here, change our multiplier or whatever, or do away with it. I don't know. And, put on there also with his committee about maybe credit for those ones that when we first applied that 2023, 2012-23, we charged them in that repair status when they didn't request the
I think, and I know in one case, the publisher of our code book assigned them a different section number than we did.
Yeah.
So somewhere between now and next week, we need to kind of clarify and make sure which sections we're talking about. And I know that was a little bit, Mr. Atkinson mentioned tonight about getting the wrong section or whatever.
yeah,
Well,
we
we
talked
actually
about
saw, Mr. Carroll and I sat down, he had one section, but he didn't have the most current section. And I know what happens is when we adopt these supplements, we give them to you. But we have also found that the publishing company that puts them out, the CD tends to be very accurate, but the pages come in sometimes, the paper copies, and they either got something left out, or they, like this, to give you an example, this 5026 in here.
Well, yeah, we done that, we done it on forward.
We did.
I put that, after I got that down there, I said, wait a minute, and then went back and I found that on forward.
Yeah, and there was another one, when we started this spring on one of these, the code book says, it'll have a blank section that says reserved. Well, the reason for leaving blanks in there is so that when we want to add something, we can just refer to that section and add something. Well, that's what we were trying to do, but when it came to the company, they put it in a totally different section. So, just for when we get back to committee, we need to try to make sure we're all talking about the same things. Because I saw one of them and I thought, and I was going to ask you at some point, did you intend to address outdoor street lights?
No.
I didn't think so,
No.
but that's what one of these wound up being, as
Yeah.
it turned out. So I thought, I don't think he meant that.
No.
But,
And you want to have this at 9:30?
Yeah.
it's all kind of part of what.
Yeah, it's all the same
That's
thing.
totally fine.
Yeah. If it's all right with you.
Do we need a motion to this effect then?
To take us to.
Well, motion to refer these things to the
Yeah.
ordinance.
I'll make a motion to refer them to
Back to ordinance.
Yeah.
Just which one of these? We're making
We
a
have a
motion on.
motion by Mr.
PPA.
McManus.
PPA,
So you're working on the PPA motion now? They're all on each sheet.
all right, PPA motion.
Okay, wanna do that one?
Right. Talk about it. I did.
Who seconded it?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to work on.
I'll say please.
All be sections.
But it was
Do we have to do all these individually, or should we do them as a group?
I think you can do them as a group.
You can do it under this later thing.
I'd be willing to, and then David can show that we can go all five.
That's all right.
Authorize.
The publisher?
I'll stipulate mine.
Yeah, but you're right. We do have a motion by Mr. McManus, a second by Mr. Preside, to send this list back to ordinance. And then-
Oh.
We'll always do it. Okay, we do have a motion, we do have a second. Call the roll, please.
I'm sorry, before we vote on this, Mr. Atkins, I echo everything you said over there, because what's going on here in the city is that same situation what you got up there and talked about, and the people are pressured up. But this ordinance, that one that Mr. Atkins was talking about, you know, we took that out in 2008, November 2008, here. We also rescinded right here. It is what it said, rescinded right here. Also, same thing with the PPA. We shall repeal it, and further force and effective is out. Also, right here is when it says here, as far as the ordinance, it rescinds the provision which holds the property owner responsible for utility bills.
Yeah, we did, but then I got back
But
to
it never
checking.
did come back.
He wrote the ordinance, for some reason, it never got on the table to come back to council to be voted on.
I think it went through committee, but I don't think it ever got in front of the full
It
council.
never did come back up.
Yeah, that's what I said, we've done that, but it never got back.
So it stays in the book every time, but we just keep ratifying the book each time.
Yeah.
And you're right,
That's what
and that's what's happening.
needs done.
People out here, we're losing people all over, EEI, Honeywell, every place. And, something needs to be done. And it should be done right here. But the other question I have, why was it changed? Mr. McManus showed me what he turned in. Why was it changed to put in the writing as under new business and then changed compared to what he put on?
He left a list in my office, and this is right off the list.
Not exactly what he.
No, what he discussed and make recommendations.
It's just the way you do it.
Well, here's the thing. Legally, everything that you've got that you want to address is adopted by an ordinance, okay? Legally, the only way you can amend or repeal an ordinance is with another ordinance, okay? I mean, there's case law on point. And so it wouldn't be possible to bring you 5 or 6 ordinances tonight, and even if it did, then you'd want them in an ordinance committee. So the idea was, we knew we were going to have a discussion. Let's have a discussion, see where you want to take it. Because an ordinance would have to have a first reading also. But legally, you can't just make a motion. I'm making a motion to repeal this, okay? That it won't work. All right? If it was adopted by ordinance, by a state law, it has to be repealed or amended by ordinance, okay? And in fact, even if it was such an old ordinance we haven't even looked at in years, it's still in effect, okay? If you call it up to deal with it, there's a case that specifically says that, called the City of Metropolis versus Gibbons, decided in 1929 by the Illinois Supreme Court. And so, even if this is something that our forefathers had adopted and we never paid attention to, it could always be enforced at any given time. It's not repealed just solves it. We thought we said we wanted to in a committee, or you pointed out, you said our consensus was to do away with it.
Well, and you even wrote it, but for some reason, we never got it back and voted on it.
It just never got done.
And this, speaking as far as the PPA, we've worked hard for the last year to repeal the PPA. Instead of saving each one of those union jobs or non-union jobs, you would be laying off up to 40 people in the city of Metropolis. Because whether you got the PPA or you don't have the PPA, we have to pay that bill to IMEA every year. Every month. We get a bill, we pay it. If the citizens didn't pay their percentage of that PPA, it'll be the burden of the city of Metropolis to pay that whether you like it or whether you don't like it. Instead of saving every job, you will be costing at least 20 to 25 jobs of the workers in the city of Metropolis.
Probably 48 all along.
Well, I'm saying at least 25.
Based on, we looked at the numbers, based on if you did away with the PPA, it generates about $2.5 million a year. What it is, it's just an index. In fact, there's a good explanation of it. A little one-page we copied. Thought that might help people explain it. But what it does, it's about $2.5 million a year. You couldn't pay the light bill for the whole city without it. Okay, it's that significant. And that's before you have a light department where you pay the linemen or you pay for trucks or anything else. So you would have zero light department and you couldn't pay bills. If we, you would go from having, in essence, the $1.8 million gap filled to creating a new $2.5 million gap or $2.2 million gap, somewhere in that neighborhood. So while none of us probably like it, it's just the cost of doing business these days. It's a necessity in a way. And we may be able to adjust it.
Well, that's what I was talking about. We're all forward now. What if we went 03 or 02?
Well,
how much is that going to cost?
We could look at that because
we've done that before.
We've played with it before, and we've adjusted when there were some spikes in it to smooth those out.
Did everybody? Every citizen save some money?
We have some suggestions
save some money
at the ordinance meeting that could be done to relieve a little bit of pressure here and there. But like I said, we've worked hard to get to the point where we're at, and in one swipe of a pen, they're not taking out each and every item on there. I certainly would not support doing away with the PPA in any way. Now, you can tweak it a little bit. We have before, but I don't want it on my conscience to do away with 40 jobs in the city of Metropolis.
But I'm not talking about that. What we can do, we need to.
I agree.
Any way possible, we need to adjust it enough to help.
But we can adjust a small amount, but we couldn't even take it off without a fire study. That's the way you got, that's the way it was.
See, that's the other thing, your rate structure in Illinois, statutes dictate one thing, and then the courts have dictated a couple more things. Statutes dictate that these are called proprietary funds. In other words, they run like a business, okay? Water, light, sewer, and garbage are proprietary funds, okay? The law mandates that you have rates that pay for operations, maintenance, depreciation, and reasonable reserves, okay? And if you have bonded debt, or if you use, some people don't use bonded debt, they use surplus to pay for capital improvements, line extensions, things like that, which that's what Metropolis is traditionally. The law mandates that your rates have to cover that. I mean, it's illegal, if you want to call it, to put them below that. We suffered along for 20-something years, way below on water, sewer, and electric, using gaming, which was the golden goose, until the golden goose quit laying the golden egg, okay? And so what's happened is, yes, we can look at tweaking them, but it's just going to be extremely difficult because, like last year, we talked about water. We put $81,000 out of electric into water last year still. Now this year, looks like we may have turned the corner. We're going to get to break even this year. People will holler about the water increases, but we're going to get to break even this year. Sewer just reached break even about a year and a half ago. 2 years ago, it reached break even. And that's not putting money back to these big capital projects. That's just breaking even. It's, the law says that you have to set them there. The courts have said that they have to be reasonable and non-discriminatory. Well, in the rate structure, to do that, to determine that you're being reasonable, you have to do a rate study before you start playing around with it. We did that when we set the electric. We did it when we set the water and the sewer. How much would that help? Would it help citizens? We can do that. But to make significant
But will it
changes,
take away with the many points?
absolutely. We're right at break even right now with what you had last year. Okay, so what you took out last year, we're right at break even. If you start putting things back in and you take away revenue, sure, you wind up upside down. So that's where we got to be careful.
But that's where the whole budget is. Where we look at how we can change other stuff to save even more.
But without, and Keith is our supervisor right now, and I think Keith will attest to it. If it had not been for that PPA, this summer alone, a great percentage of the city of Metropolis would have been out of the power if you all hadn't had the foresight to do the upgrades to the sewer system, and you paid cash for it.
That was Gary, Mr. Barfield.
You would not have. Keith will tell you, the west substation would not be existing as a substation. It might be something else, but it would actually have blown up. And then you would be putting outdated equipment back in that substation that we worked hard to get out of. You'd pay prime for the transformers and everything because they're obsolete, but you would have to have put that system back up because a third of the city of Metropolis has been out of power. If you could have been out for a month, you could have been out for 6 months. How long to build that back up? So, and that PPA is what gives you the ability to pay for that upgrade to make sure our citizens. I mean, I can remember very well in not only in the east end but in the west end. I mean, in the summertime, before they redid the east sub, it just had to boil a little bit. I mean, the power was out. So, I mean, I agree, we ought to do everything we can do for the citizens to make it less painful and stuff like that. But still, again, we're obligated to the city to make sure that we're not bankrupting the city for the decisions that we make and stuff like that. But
Mayor,
anyway, it's a good thing.
I don't like this PPA any more than anyone else here on the city out on the street. But I might be able to instruct you here if I'm wrong. When you do away with the PPA, your light bill has got to be paid by other means. And you do away with the PPA, you're doing away with all of your city employees pretty well, the biggest majority of them. they're gonna lose their jobs. And on top of that, the bills won't be paid. The city will go bankrupt in less than 6 months without it. The money's got to go. And I'm gonna quote from Mr. Abel's letter of August 26, 2009. I'm not going to quote the whole paragraph. Transferring money from the governor's fund to a proprietary fund to pay operational costs is just plain illegal. That's where we stand if you want to do away. And like I say, I don't like it any more than anybody else does. But right now, you can't do away with it and operate the city.
All right, we're gonna send this over to Mr. Daugherty for
I have a full
discussion.
day.
You have a full day,
Sure do.
but you can have it.
I suffer.
I just hope you get it right.
We're gonna move on now.
No.
Is there any other
I got
new
voted.
business? You got a vote to send this all back. We have a motion by Mr. McManus and a second by Mr. Corzine to send this list back to Mr. Daugherty.
Lozano. Barfield.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Daugherty.
Yes.
McManus. Midnight.
Yes.
And myself.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I have to speak. Okay, I know with the budget fixing to happen, and you know, a lot of times I can't make these meetings because of the way I work. So I prepared something here asking you all to consider. So I'm gonna read here. So, with the budget being planned for next year, I'm asking each council member to consider appropriating funds in next year's budget to hire a full-time economic development director. I know by the time I am done making my pleas to the mayor and the council that most of you will say this is political, but that's not my intent at all. My motive is purely my own beliefs and thoughts. I was elected by the citizens of Ward 1 to do what is best for the citizens as well as the city of Metropolis. If you look around the great city of Metropolis, you will see that our town is slowly dying. While just across the river, Paducah continues to grow, and other cities within a 50-mile or so radius continue to thrive as well. Metropolis cannot take another hard-hitting year like 2012. Our local plants in Metropolis and surrounding areas have endured numerous job losses. These job losses have been devastating to our local businesses and families. We as a city needs to do something to keep our citizens here. We do not have anyone in our city that seeks out and plans for future development. We use Gene Norber, a gentleman that does a fine job with the TIF districts and such that have to be in place, but he is not actively seeking what is best for Metropolis on a daily basis. He too has told us that we need a specific direction and need goals for our future. I think some of us have our own goals, but as a city we need the same vision to move toward. We have had several citizens discuss and point issues out to us about the needs of Metropolis to grow. We have a sizable industrial park that is not growing with industry. We have a port district, the casino load. We have our Superman theme, and we are not building on those concepts. I ask you to consider setting aside funding for a salary without all of the bonus and incentives, someone who wants to help build our city, someone dedicated to the growth of Metropolis, and willing to travel and seek out businesses that are willing and wanting a place to locate in a community like Metropolis. Give these businesses an incentive packages that they can't refuse. Let's keep our jobs, our children, and our grandchildren here at home. Let's give them the opportunity to see Metropolis alive with thriving businesses and industry. A town that we can continue to be proud of is all I'm asking for you to consider. Funds are used, and I'm not going to say wasted, because I feel anything for the younger generation is not a waste, but we build big fancy parks, but for what? For future use? But with the trend we are setting for Metropolis, will they be used or just a field of dreams? A beautiful library that we are proud of, but will it be used to the extent that it was intended? New fire and police stations that is state-of-the-art with the best of equipment, but will it be needed with the continued growth trend? Please consider my request for discussing this year's budget. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
Give it to me, Ryan.
Anything else
I'll give you a
under
copy.
new business?